Everybody, welcome to 3+1 live cast, where tonight joining us, filling in for the one and only Tracy Bonner, who you know is filming and doing all kinds of amazing things, is the one and only Laurel Oliveira Sherman. Laurel.
I like that intro. It was real legit.
So you saying that myself? So you're saying that we haven't been legit before now? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, I'm saying I was very impressed. It was given what it needed to give.
Mm-hmm. You know, we do. Tracy and I do what we can here.
I understand. You know, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in the number.
Well, we're happy to have you in the number, and we're really super excited. Again, we all know that Laurel is no stranger to the live cast, but we are really excited to welcome attorney, social media influencer, and activist, the one and only Alicia Lunchen. Alicia, welcome to
Hi.
How are you, my love?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
We are excited as well. I have a lot of questions, and before we jump into our questions, do you have any questions for us?
I don't. I want to know, are you sipping on, is there liquor in that cup?
Right. It's a hot toddy.
There should be. There should be liquor in the cup, but you know, it's not. This is a hot tea. And I'm happy to share my recipe. Inside of my hot, I always do a peach bag. It's a lemon zinger bag, and then it's a cardamom bag as cinnamon, and a cinnamon stick, and a piece of lemon. And so here's the thing. I am going to drink tomorrow. So I have been doing a fast from alcohol for the duration of my mother's second hospitalization. So it is my hope that she'll be coming home tomorrow, and I will be able to break the fast. And
I love that.
I'm going to Vespers. It's like this new little bar in East Atlanta Village, and they have some cocktails, and I am going to tear the cocktails down.
Okay, period. What is it called? Vespers?
It's called Vespers. Have you been? So you know it, Alicia?
I know it. I just went last weekend. The owners, actually the bartenders, when I went. So yes, I love that place.
I can't wait to tear it down.
I'm gonna have to put that in my little date night repertoire here.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, and in my, you know, that's a good date night. So put it on your list, Laurel, because you know Friday night is my date night for anyone out there. Because if you know, you know. So here's the thing, Alicia. Let's jump right into it because we have some. I have some questions. I know Laurel has some questions. I'm gonna start off right here with the first question. Mm-hmm. Not talking about, because I want to talk about your transition from the world of prosecution to the world of defense. I already know the story because, you know, I love you. I follow you on TikTok. I know that our viewers don't. I want to know what motivated you in the very beginning to even go into law. Why?
Oh my gosh. People always ask me that, and I feel like I need a better answer. But really, I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I didn't. I was like, well, I majored in Spanish in college. Wow. I minored in philosophy, and I was like, well, what do people do with a philosophy degree? Like, because I need to get a job. I can do something. Because my mom was like, what's the plan? So I ended up asking him, what do people with philosophy minors and majors do? He said they go to law school. I was like, I bet. So I didn't know that at the time. So I took the LSAT, got into law school, ended up loving it because I felt like it was a mixture of all the kind of soft skills that I already had. So I did theater when I was younger. I've done theater my whole life. So I was used to being on stage. I was used to public speaking, you know, doing monologues, stuff like that. I loved advocating for other people, the underdog, and just going back and forth. I was always ready. I was always prepared and ready, you know, to represent and advocate for my people. And so it just felt like a perfect mix. Once I got into law school, I was like, oh, this is going to work for me. And that's pretty much it.
That's dope. I love that. You kind of just went with the winds, like, okay, I got to make some coins. So what can I do with this degree? Right.
I'm muted. It's fine. Okay. Where did you go to law school? And where did you go to? Give us your undergrad if you want to shout them out. You may not want to shout them out. And then tell us, you know, where did you work first and why did you choose that?
Yes. So I went to undergrad at Georgia Southern. So I'm from Georgia. So I went to Georgia Southern for college. Then I went to the University of Georgia for law school. Wow. And that was just named like last year, the year before, the whitest law school in the country.
Believable.
So, yes. So the racism, the microaggressions, all that, it was there. But I'm still super close to there was like 12 Black students, law students in my class. And I was there in 2015. So not that long ago for it not to have that many Black people. So,
right.
So we're all super close to this day because of that, because there was just so much racism that we encountered. I'm like, okay, we all have similar grades. We all got into the same law school. We have the same stats.
Exactly.
I'm confused as to why you're acting like I don't deserve to be here, baby girl, because according to my statistics, I'm supposed to be sitting right here in this chair. But that's a lot of stuff that, you just face that a lot and you feel like you're not supposed to be there. But anyway.
Yeah, if I can add one thing, one of my best friends, she graduated from University of Georgia. She graduated from Grady, which is their journalism school.
Yes.
And I went for her graduation and I was so taken aback by the racism. I was like stunned because I went to Florida A&M. So coming out of an HBCU and then you go into this environment where people are still behaving this way. I did not want to be there. I was literally like, I cannot believe you spent 4 years here, because I would have blown a gasket. So I definitely commend you and respect you for, seeing it through and just having to deal with that and just, just pioneering through that. Because girl, Athens, y'all need to clean it up. Athens, you need to clean it up because it's nasty.
That's crazy that you experienced that just at the graduation. You know what I'm saying? Like just your glimpse into that, you could already pick that up.
Well, the nightlife, I remember getting into it. I actually got put out of a bar there because they were playing rap music in the bar. However, they were policing like all of the Black people. Like it was like profiling through the door. And so I remember telling the man, I said, do you hear this song that's on? Do you even know who that is that's rapping? And I don't even remember who it was that was rapping. I was like, that's a Black man rapping right now, that if he walked up in here, you would be policing him and profiling him the way that you're doing these regular patrons. And I was just so over it. He was like, well, you can leave. I was like, and I can leave. And I'm going to leave because this is really beyond what I can take. I just can't take it. So yeah, that was my one and only experience. And I have not been back to Athens, period. I will not go back. I just can't.
Yeah. So what made you switch from the world of a prosecutor to the world of a defense attorney?
So I was a prosecutor. So I first became a prosecutor because I felt like they had so much power in the system. And I was like, okay, I can become a prosecutor and I can really change things. Like I can stop the school to prison pipeline. I can stop, Black men, which is going to be the majority of people that you're going to see in the criminal justice system, no matter where you live. Doesn't matter if you live in a majority white area. Pretty much the majority of people you're going to see every day is going to be Black men, period.
Right.
It just doesn't matter. So I was like, okay, well, I can work inside the system and I can stop that. But when I got hired, and it was crazy because I'm in Atlanta, which is, a majority Black city. I'm like, okay, so it's going to be different. We're not just going to be sending people to prison for like little small stuff. And that's not what I saw. I'm like, dang, I'm going to court. I'm Black, judge Black, the defendant's Black, everybody Black. And yet you still be sending people to prison for, marijuana possession. Right. And I felt I didn't have any discretion. I didn't have discretion. I knew before I made anything, I had to ask my supervisor. She had to sign off on every little thing I was doing. And if you didn't do something that they felt like you should do, you could get fired. You could get demoted. You might get sent to a different jurisdiction. You know what I'm saying? You might get sent back down. Once you got promoted, they might be like, well, we feel like you should have put this person in jail for 90 days or wherever. You didn't do that. So let's go ahead and send you back down to the bottom. And it's like, really? Because
that's crazy.
We're still prosecuting small stuff. And the majority of people that you see when you're prosecuting are going to be people who are doing little small crimes like not criminal trespass, but like little stuff, mental health stuff, or stuff that you do when you're homeless. You know what I'm saying? Stuff that you do when you have a drug addiction. You're not really, the majority of people you're seeing are not the high violent offenders, somebody who shot somebody or sexually assaulted somebody. That's not the majority of the criminal justice system. Wow. So that frustrated me. And then, Ahmaud Arbery is happening, George Floyd is happening, Breonna Taylor is happening, all this is happening back to back. And I'm in the criminal justice system And I feel like they're not talking about it. I'm like, we are prosecutors. We really need to be on the front lines discussing these issues because we have so much power in the system. So we need to be on the front line saying, no, these officers need to be prosecuted, because that's your job as a prosecutor. When an officer kills somebody, the same way when a regular person kills somebody, you prosecute them. When an officer kills somebody, you need to prosecute that officer. And I'm hearing like radio silence. I'm not hearing anything. And I'm like, wow, how do you think I feel as a Black woman inside this system? And my people are being murdered and y'all are
silent.
I don't hear nothing.
Yeah. That's
like, I'm talking to my other Black coworkers and we're in a group chat like, what are we going to do?
It's infuriating.
Yes. And several of us quit. Several of my Black prosecutor, especially the women, several of us quit because we were like, we cannot just sit here in a system who clearly y'all don't care about us. You don't.
Well, good for you guys. I'm like a lot of people would have been worried more so about job security and, you know, like, oh, I need this job for my livelihood. But your purpose and your desire to help people and not just sit back was like more important than that. Like, you know what? I can't be a part of this. That's how I am. I mean, through and through, I just can't, like, it would eat at me every single day, you know?
And so, you know, when you talk about leaving your career path and your career plan, and you took a detour, it's been about a year since we lived through everything with George Floyd, from the, you know, murder until finally the conviction. Did you make the right decision? Absolutely. When I tell you, I was so scared to quit. Financial security it's a reality. It simply is. You know what I'm saying? The bills have to be paid. And so I was nervous, but I felt like I was walking in my purpose. I felt like I needed to quit that job. I couldn't be myself when I was there. I couldn't say what I wanted to say. Of course, they're not going to be like, don't say Black Lives Matter. You know what I'm saying? I can't say that expressly because that's a government job and they can't suppress your freedom of speech, but they can do little small stuff on the back end. You know, they can punish you at work.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to say that if I stayed in that position. And that's the best. I feel so free now. I feel like I can say what I want to say and I can advocate the way I want to advocate. And I've never that was the best decision I ever made.
I know that's right. I felt similar, not nearly like the pressure that you may have felt, but just being in the ROTC program and being a part of the military, you know, a lot of times I really feel for a lot of Black people that are in the military and in law enforcement. And like you said, just inside the system, because I feel like it's so restricting to who you are as a person. Like before I joined this organization, before I came into this profession, I was and will always be Black. You know, and so it was hard for me to suppress my Blackness to be around these people 24/7 and feel like, and like you said, they won't flat out say something to you, but it's the microaggressions, it's the passive aggressiveness that really was like, oh no, I can't function. Like, so I had to leave that institution, much like yourself. So I respect you and just commend you for making that decision, because I don't look back. I feel like I was a totally different person. I don't even know what that was. I don't know that girl.
But yeah. And as you branched out and you started a different type of service to the community through your work as a defense attorney, you also started a different type of service to the community through social media activism and TikTok. And that's how I discovered the Luncheon Lawyer, through your amazing feed and your amazing content development. What motivated you to use TikTok as a platform for your activism?
So when I first got on TikTok, I saw, you know, Consciously, I Speak, and all of the large Black social justice activist creators. And I was like, okay, so we're talking about something on here. You know,
we can be free on here. We can talk.
You were talking.
Talking. Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah. We got a little bit of freedom back then. Not now, but back then it was a little bit more freedom to discuss what we wanted to talk about. And I was like, I have so much to add to this conversation. because I've been in the system. Like I'm very deeply entrenched in the criminal justice system day in and day out. And I feel like I have stories that people will be shocked to hear. So when we're talking about, George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, I'm like, that's in my wheelhouse. And I have a lot to say. And I feel like I haven't been able to express it because for the most part, I've been trying to keep my job. I've been trying to fit in and assimilate. And so I didn't want to say, you can't have really a strong social media presence, not really when you're a prosecutor. You can't really say what you want to say. It's got to be real professional, real clean. You know what I mean? It's like you say, ROTC, when you're a branch of the government, correct, there's a certain look that they want you to have. And otherwise you're going, like I said, you're going to get fired. There's going to be some backlash. But I felt like when I quit, then I'm like, okay, say what I want to say. So really seeing other activists on there and really seeing them unapologetically talk about these issues and not be afraid, that gave me the strength and the bravery to stand up and say what I wanted to say. But it was also the first time I had ever seen people who felt similarly to me. I don't know how to explain it. Like I felt like I never came in contact with people who had the same views that I had. I always felt like my views were like radical. And TikTok was the first time where I'm like, man, like I'm not on the far end of the spectrum. I don't think I'm radical or crazy. Like I think a lot of people feel this way. And finally I found my tribe where, I can talk to people about this type of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
The notion, I agree with you. I think that TikTok does allow for creators like yourself and many others to connect with people who are like-minded and who have common goals. Or at least that's what TikTok seemed to be for a period of time. Now, TikTok as a social media app and as a company is facing a lot of backlash for censoring social justice creators of color just like you.
Wow.
They are seeming to amplify the voices of who they deem to be more marketable. An example is this week's Alabama Rush, which I'm literally, after we conclude tonight, going to make a video about Alabama Rush. I went to a PWI. I went to Mississippi State University. 2 degrees from there. I was an extremely activist in college. I was president of the Black Alliance, and we literally went underground, organized the Black Student Union body, and we had an all-Black homecoming court, not 1 year, but 2 years in a row.
Wow.
2 years in a row, we commandeered the campus in that way. But here's the thing. I've been a strategist for a long time. But the racism at the University of Alabama was well known and notorious even then when I was in college. And so to see them now being promoted so heavily on TikTok and to actually see people so vested in rush culture, when rush culture is rooted in racist thinking, the big house, even the workers in these plantations now are predominantly Black women. It is, the house mother is traditionally a Black grandmother, just horrible. What do you think about the future of TikTok and whether or not that platform is still viable for Black woke creators? Because I'm not talking about like that Black guy that be in the hype house. I'm not talking about that woman who is in there pumping down on that watermelon like she's some kind of rabid alligator. I'm talking about those who are woke and aware and do the work. Is there a future for us on that platform?
I really don't know. I've been ready to go for a while, and I'm just ready to find. I did create a fan-based account, so I've been ready to go because it's been ridiculous. Like getting community guidelines violations for, adult nudity when you're fully dressed.
That's crazy.
Getting violations for hate speech when you say nothing, you just repost a palm colored person's video and then their video stays up, but my video gets removed and I didn't say a word. And so the racism is clear. And I feel like now people are starting to realize it. For a long time, I think people thought, oh, if your video is just not doing well, just say that. Oh, if nobody wants to see your content, just say that. You know what I'm saying? They didn't believe you. They felt like people didn't want to see it. Right. And I'm like, no, this is clearly like the algorithm, because when you look at all the social justice creators, we're all facing these same issues. And when you see all my community guidelines violations, you're going to be like, if 2 + 2 is 4, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not adding up.
Yeah.
So I don't really see a good future. I don't see a future on TikTok, to be honest with you, unless they change, unless they step back and let Black creators talk about what we want to talk about. And Black creators make TikTok interesting and fun. So I don't understand. Like, if all the Black creators leave TikTok, that app is going to be bland. It's going to be boring. There's nothing to be done. Like, Black creators make the dances. Right. And even for the dances that are more mainstream, for the white creators to then do that dance, copy it, take all the flavor, all the sauce out, and still,
oh my God, that's so true.
It's crazy. and they're the ones who are getting, it's not just TikTok, like these white creators are getting paid millions. They're millionaires. A lot of them.
Yeah.
TikTok. They are millionaires. So we just got a heart. We just got a heart from Deborah Kirk. So my mother, Mommy Malone, she's watching. I want to, and I'm going to make a great video about the experience that that we've gone through as a family, but it will be positive, Mom. I promise it won't be giving your business away. But through that process, I'm a helper. I'm a very strong person. I help lots of people. I think if you really know me, that's what I do. But through the process, there was a day when I could not do anything for myself, and I needed help. And I asked God to send me help, and He sent people like Laurel and people who I knew were strong in their faith to pray with me every day and continuously give encouragement. So I think Laurel has been praying every day of your duration. So, Mom, I wanted you to know that. And
so happy that she's on.
And so, I know she's seen you previously, but she may not know how you prayed for her and helped pray her through this extremely random illness that just makes no sense, but it's a reality. Back to, the question. I agree with you 100%, luncheon lawyer. I think that, TikTok's day is coming to an end as soon as we can mobilize and bring it to an end. You can already see the difference in the continued decrease in content because Black dancers and content creators are no longer giving material for white content creators to steal. Thankfully, it all started with Addison Rae going on Jimmy. Well, it ended rather with Addison Rae going on Jimmy Kimmel, and then thought shit coming out from Meg Thee Stallion, and there being no dances, and them having nothing to steal. And it's shot. I would honestly have just simply assumed that people like Addison Rae and Charli D'Amelio or whatever the name, they would just pay a choreographer to create their dances for them. But the fact that they didn't do that, and they were just sitting there waiting was shocking, and they're still waiting. So I think that our time is coming. It's a process. Fan base, we'll talk about that. It's coming up. We'll talk about it. We're going to also, guys, after this broadcast, continue on IG Live. We have a few more questions for Alicia, but let's go right into what we do every week: the up, the down, and the clown. And so, ladies, and for those watching for the first time, we always start off, or listening for the first time on the podcast, we always start off with some good news. Okay. So, this was, I think, good news for the most part, in that President Joe Biden was able to deliver on his promise to work across the aisles, although I don't know why he had to feel like he needed to do that, to pass a sweeping infrastructure bill that really may put him historically on par with Franklin Delano Roosevelt and his New Deal. Ladies, any thoughts on the Biden infrastructure plan that has gained bipartisan support and has passed the Senate to go back to the House for final negotiations before actually being passed?
I mean, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts.
I think it's good that there's a bipartisan bill. I think it's like all the politicians have been saying, typically this is a bipartisan subject. Usually it is. So I just find it, but it frustrates me because this was bipartisan, and then the Juneteenth bill was bipartisan, and it's like, but we have a lot of other bills that are important that need to be passed. And it's frustrating. Infrastructure clearly is important. Clearly, we need roads, we need bridges. I don't know how it's going to work in Atlanta, particularly because if you're from here, you know,
it's out of control.
Them white folk up in Alpharetta, Roswell, up north have consistently fought against MARTA expanding, against buses expanding. Yay! Expanding up into their area. So I don't know how it's actually going to work, because I know for a long time the people who do have money, typically white affluent neighborhoods, they don't want black folk coming up there. They don't want that public transportation coming into their neighborhoods, right, particularly in the South. So I'm interested to see how this infrastructure bill does affect, you know, certain cities. But I mean, I guess overall it is positive.
I agree. I feel like what you said in terms of them being able to come together to issue this bill or to try to get this bill passed. But I do agree with what you said when you said we have so many more pressing issues, so many more pressing bills that I feel like can be bipartisan and they could come together. But of course, no one wants to talk about those important bills, like how they said they were passing a day for hip hop or something like that. I can't, like a hip hop holiday or something. It's like, no one asked for that. We don't need that. That's not what we're asking you for. Like, why is the anti-lynching bill still something that people are perplexed about? Like, those are more pressing issues that I feel like people are not using their place in power to pass, which, like you said, infrastructure is important, but it's like, why is that at the top of the list? And then I was reading and it was saying that it's going to put us more into a deficit over the next 10 years. So it's like, okay, well, why are we always in debt? Like, we're in the middle of a pandemic. People can't pay their rent, you know what I'm saying? And we're talking about taking on more debt, you know, nationally for infrastructure. But again, I mean, we gonna take the wins as we can, but I just feel like there's more pressing matters that they could try to, I mean, give an inch for, without it always being a struggle. But yeah.
So here's the thing. I absolutely do not care about the debt. I do not care. We do not care. And let me tell you why I do not care about some debt, because we have the money. We pay the money in these darn taxes. I pay out the wazoo, and I'm thankful. And I'm not someone who gets angry about paying taxes. You know, I'm happy to do my part. You know, I was a public school educator for 16 years. I'm happy to contribute to the American economy and to the public services that are provided. But what makes me angry is the political posturing. Now, I do believe that, you know, and so here's when you say, Laurel, why is this the issue? And then Candace, thank you so much for also coming in and talking about, you know, they need to quit to push this crazy culture. Let's get to the real issues. This is what it comes down to. They absolutely, and Candace also made a jab at, you know, Speaker Pelosi with the Kente Claw. This was an easy win for Biden in the first year, and that's why it had to happen. You cannot pass the anti-lynching bill when you do not have a real majority in the United States Senate. Democrats truly only have 48 seats, 2 seats. Maine and Vermont are both owned by independents. Now, they do caucus with the Democrats, and they're going to vote probably Democrat. But you have Manchin of West Virginia, who is a Democrat in name only, because who's being funded and sponsored by Republican donors like the Koch brothers, as well as Chris Sinema of Arizona, who pretends to be some spooky and kooky nut job for political gain. There is no way any of these other bills would have passed. The George Floyd Policing Act, it'll never pass because Sinema and Manchin won't vote for it, and it needs to get at least 60 senators for approval. And the same thing goes for the John Lewis voting rights bill. It's also not going to pass because we simply don't have the votes, and that is a fault of the American people. We can't look at the presidential election as the end all and be all when every single election matters. We just had a congressional race in the Ohio 11th district, which is predominantly Black and brown people, and the turnout was extremely low. Like 27,000 people made the decision to elect Shontel Brown as opposed to the turn. And I know, Alicia, you're probably, you're a young woman, so many young women tend to be very progressive. I'm an older man, so I was all for Shontel. I'm all about her. But regardless, I wanted to see more turnout among Black people, and we didn't see it. We turned out in some places for the presidential race, but that's not enough. And so these other ballots matter. November of next year is going to be pivotal for the American people. And if we don't get vote out, we're doomed. And we still might be doomed because of gerrymandering as well as voter suppression bills.
That's what I was going to say. The voter suppression bill is not on our side either, because I feel like it's one thing to say, okay, we want voter turnout, but think about the frustration that people endure when you go and you try to vote and you find out you're not in the system, or they tell you, oh, hey, we have to verify, you need 4, 5, 6, 7 IDs to get in line, or now you can't have water. It's just so many things that it's like, okay, Black and brown people are the ones facing all the hell to vote. Not to say that it excuses you from, participating, but it makes it a lot more challenging than white people who can get up and go vote. And not to mention, just from my personal experience, I live in Cobb County. And so when Greg and I went to go vote, we were in and out of there. Like I was actually super early because I was anticipating like a line around the corner, and I didn't have that. But then my mom and them live in DeKalb County, and the lines and the places and the availability to where you could vote was insane. So people are like, okay, I'm getting off work. Again, not to say you're, exempt or excused, but it's like, I'm getting off work, I have kids, and you want me to go stand in a line at a polling place that's halfway across from where I live, and the line is around the corner. And then I got to get up there and pull out a passport and ID, or this or that, so it's bananas. And so I think that's a part of it. I think also getting the education part out, like you said, when you said the election for us next year or in November is important, I don't think a lot of people have that piece of information. Because even me, as I'm sitting here, you're educating me on a lot of things in terms of voting that I'm like, okay, well, let me, spread that knowledge in my community, in my groups. But I don't think a lot of people have that general knowledge. And I feel like they do that intentionally. I feel like it's intentional to exclude a certain population of people from access to information so that they don't get those votes, And I saw the same thing going on with Governor Newsom in LA. And there's this stuff circulating basically saying like, hey, people of LA, please pay attention because you got Caitlyn Jenner and you got, I forget the other guy's name, basically trying to uproot Governor Newsom. But they're like, do you know what that's going to mean for our state? Like, pay attention. So I think social media is helpful in trying to get that information circulated where you can at least, know what's going on. Because some stuff I be clueless. I'm like, do I know what we supposed to know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Facebook user, tell us who you are because it's showing up as Facebook user, probably because of your extreme privacy settings, but no one's angry at you for your extreme privacy settings. This is your account. You want to stay safe because you're scared of the big dark web. Now, here's the thing. You are correct about the Voting Rights Act, not just being for Black people. And you're right. They are very heavily vested in it. Where are the brown people? You're right. Again, why is it that no one else is concerned about voter suppression but us? Because it is an integral touch point to our culture and how we know we have been attacked in this country previously. A number of our brown brothers and sisters may not realize that they have been attacked that they're being attacked right along with us at this moment. But let me also say this, that I hope that the Republican Party in Georgia specifically is digging a hole for themselves, not for the ones that want to fall into it. Because I believe that in Georgia, we are still going to come out and find a way to overcome this hurdle no matter what, especially if Stacey Abrams chooses to run for governor. I think that we're going to still be able to win in this state, but I think that Republicans are going to disenfranchise their own voters in ways that they don't yet see. So, hey, my friend, my other beloved Deborah. So I'm glad that you are with us, and that's exactly what I hope happens. Just very briefly, ladies, giving the highlight of the plus. Of the good news is, again, the plan really is going to bring a lot of money where money is needed. To me, I care a lot about the care economy and investing in home based care, child care for our working mothers, care for our older citizens. I don't, infrastructure is needed. It's always needed. that's a no-brainer. But I'm also really excited to see about the increase in broadband for our young people. We realize now through this pandemic just how vital it is for every child to have appropriate access to the internet. It breaks my heart to think about all the kids who didn't have internet access and how they were held back academically, especially when those kids look just like us. So I'm excited to see that change, even though I am disappointed in the fact that, as Deborah said, Biden has not worked to meet with our Democrats from Texas as they've been there sequestered for so long. I'm gonna be honest with you. President Biden is really committed to trying to, I think, win over voters who are never going to vote for him. They're going to vote, as W.B. Mother says, for Frumpy Dump, and these people are going to vote for Donald Trump or whoever Trump appoints, no matter what. They're not worth the Democrats' time and energy. Their focus needs to be on the independent voters that Joe Biden is losing and the young progressive voters that he never won over. That's where I believe he should be putting his focus. So that's our up. So some good news before we go to some bad news. And you know what, ladies, tonight we're talking about some villains.
Woo! Oh my God.
You know what? That is Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
I'm sick of him. And I'm sick of him. I'm sick of DeSantis. I'm sick of it.
He's next. So, they have come out. So as we look at COVID-19 surging, right? COVID-19, the Delta variant, is extremely and highly contagious. Of course, also with breakthrough cases. Here's this really awesome graphic that I found that kind of breaks down how this works. So for the original strain of COVID-19, 1 person out of 4 was likely to infect 2 people. That's how contagious it was. Then the Alpha variant, the very first spin-off variant, would infect 3 out of 4 people from 1 person. But now the Delta variant has increased that rate to where you have up to 5 out of 6 people that come in contact with that one infected person now being affected or infected, by COVID-19. What's shocking and heartbreaking is that both Governor Abbott and Governor DeSantis of Florida have decided that schools will not be able to implement mask mandates to save children from getting COVID-19, although children under 12 can't even get vaccinated. Ladies, what do you think about this?
Well, as a mom and my daughter, first of all, a mom and a wife of a teacher, I feel like it's incredibly, it's irresponsible, but again, I feel like a lot of these people of power, like governors and stuff like that, they don't really care. I mean, what's his name? Ted Cruz. He was on vacation when his whole state was going through a crisis. You know what I'm saying? He was going to Mexico with his family and tried to cover it up. So I feel like they don't really care about the people. So I'm not surprised. I tested positive for COVID the week of 4th of July, and I'm fully vaccinated. The Delta variant is not playing. Delta's always starting stuff. The shade. But yeah, like, okay, for example, I had a conversation with my daughter this morning because we were telling her, like, hey, make sure you keep your mask on at school, even when you guys go to recess, or even like if you have lunch and take it off to eat, make sure you put it back on. Just having those conversations with my children and with my husband, and us making sure that we are taking safety precautions and we are, taking our vitamins and things like that to boost our immune system, because they are not the ones that they don't care. I mean, it's evident. And it's also crazy to me how some people are like enforcing or wanting to say like, oh, if you like, the teachers basically have to rise up against the governors, who are the people that are supposed to implement rules to protect them. You know what I'm saying? So it's really just, to me, I'm looking at the world in a way where it's like, nothing makes sense. It's incredibly chaotic. If 2020 taught us anything, it's that everything is completely out of whack. And the people that are supposed to be trusted officials have really neglected that power. They've abused that power, and they're not going to implement anything that is beneficial for us. It's sad to say, but it's just the facts. And so then once you get that once you consume that and you break that down for yourself, you're like, okay, what do I need to do in my house, me and my house, to be okay? Because at this point, it's all politics, and I feel like people are putting politics before people, and that's, honestly, that's really how it's always seemed to me. It's always seemed like it's been politics before people to, overall. But I'm not surprised. And I also feel like it was very unwise for the CDC to say, oh, you don't have to wear a mask anymore. Very unwise. They took that back, but I feel like the people that didn't want to wear masks to begin with are taking that little piece of information and they're running with it. Like, oh, you remember when the CDC said we don't have to wear masks no more, so no, you can't mandate So I feel like that was a little premature, is what I'm saying. It was very premature, and I feel like a lot of people are taking that and running with it and basically making that their what is it? That's the hill that they're gonna die on. That they're basically saying, like, But I'm not surprised, you know what I'm saying? I'm not surprised. Texas has been out of control. They passed that rule basically saying you can't teach critical race theory in school. You can't talk about
which no one ever taught anyway.
Exactly. So what are you talking about? And then they don't even know what critical race theory is. If you sit there and try to explain, if you sit there and try to listen to them explain it, it's like, you don't even know what critical race theory is, but you don't want to talk about it. No,
From a legal perspective, what are your thoughts?
It's the ignorance.
So I think the governors, unfortunately, are within their right to say, you can't mandate these masks, unfortunately. And it's hard because what you see is this kind of disparity between, for example, kids who go to private school and kids who go to public school. You can't really control what these private schools are doing. I have a friend who's in Atlanta. He's an attorney as well. His daughter was in school for 2 days before they had to shut the whole school down because they don't have a mask mandate. And there was a coronavirus outbreak in the school after 2 days. And so at a point, it's like you said, as a mother, it's frustrating. I think that the whole issue has been handled poorly. There was a lot of confusion when the vaccine came out. I don't know why. I don't know if it was messaging from the CDC or what, where people just felt like this was a cure. Coronavirus is gone. And now I can do whatever I want. I don't have to wear a mask. And, there's no problems. And I don't know who to blame for that. I don't know if it's the American people who simply did not understand, how vaccines work. I don't know if it was the messaging from Twitter and from Joe Biden. I don't know if it's when the government kept saying this is a disease among the unvaccinated, which that's not all the way true, right? Because vaccinated people are certainly getting the virus, though not as high at high rates. But it certainly is something that everybody needs to be taking seriously. I don't know if it's because there was this misinformation that children cannot get the coronavirus. I don't know where that started. That is also untrue. And so I think a lot of parents felt like, well, my kids, they can't get it. So I'm gonna send my kids to school and they don't have to wear masks. Okay, even if that's true, your kids come home and they have coronavirus and you have an elderly person in the home, or you have someone that's at risk. Right. And then they're spreading it to that person.
Well,
so,
I do. I agree.
There was all this poor messaging, I think, across the board.
And just very briefly, let me organize and answer those questions very briefly as to what happened. So the reality is, in the beginning, you were not going to get COVID-19 from all of the variants of COVID-19, very rare. It was literally like a 99.9% chance that you would not get COVID-19, and there would not be a breakthrough case of every variant up until Delta. That is when the game changed. So when the CDC and the Biden administration rolled back the mask guidelines in an effort to get more people to get vaccinated so that you would possibly avoid a Delta variant takeover in the United States, that's why they did it. Because if you were vaccinated, no mask for you is an incentive. The unfortunate part is that you didn't have enough people who were vaccinated to have herd immunity actually take effect, and the Delta variant came and broke through that. Now, when you talk about who's to blame, I don't think that we can. I would not blame the CDC or any messaging for that. Not up until then, right? I would only blame the disinformation machine of the conservative media like Fox News, One American News Network, Newsmax, and all of these horrible Republican politicians who themselves are vaccinated but want to see their constituents storm the Capitol and then go to jail or die from COVID-19. That's who I would blame. But that was until now. Now, Zachary Kirk blames Joe Biden. Let me tell you why. Joe Biden, when he ran for office, made a promise to me as a Democrat and as a voter that he was going to protect me and protect my family from COVID-19. He said he would do whatever it took to protect the American people. To me, that meant a vaccine passport. That meant restrictions for the unvaccinated. If you didn't have a vaccine, you should not have been flying the friendly skies. If you didn't have a vaccine, you should not have been able to travel all around this world, willy-nilly going to Mexico, going to give them COVID, going to the U.S. Virgin Islands to give them COVID, going to where else did we leave? The U.S. have a huge outbreak because we went there. Jamaica, that is what we count Joe Biden on. I count on him to do. He didn't do it. He didn't do those things. He could have locked down the U.S. from foreign and international travel without really strict protocols like other countries did, because you can't leave here and go somewhere else and not be quarantined until you get that negative test. Yes. But that's not the case in America. You can just come right on in here with your Delta variant and spread like wildfire, and that's what it did. That's on Joe Biden, because he could have issued an executive order with TSA to protect us, and he didn't do it. And he is still up there playing games, trying to court these people who are never going to support him no matter what. They think he drinks the blood of children. You have a man in California who sat there and sliced off his testicle because he thought that it had. I'm laughing. No, this is serious. It may not have been California. Now, everybody watching, you can Google this. Now, I may be wrong. I want you to look up. A man got the vaccine. He all of a sudden felt, when he started to feel symptoms, he thought that the microchips had spread and centered in his growing.
I'm sick of it.
So he took a knife and he sliced and diced, trying to get those microchips in his body because he didn't want to turn into a robot.
Period.
This is a true story.
He said it's giving iRobot. It was giving iRobot. You had to get to the bottom of it.
Get to the bottom.
This today. I mean, not today. I'm saying I read about this today. Additionally, we read about the man who killed his 2 children because he thought that they were turning into serpent monsters. That was in California.
From what? From the vaccine?
No, he just, for some reason, there's this whole race of serpents that are taking over the earth. It's a QAnon concept, and this man is a surfer from California, and he murdered his 2 children.
Oh my God.
Thinking that they were serpent children. Makes no sense to anybody with common sense or rational minds, but it is exactly what is happening. And so again, I agree with you, Deborah. Black folks out the corner are not vaccinated, and Joe Biden is not doing what he said he would do to protect us, in my opinion. And so I do blame Joe. This is the one thing so far that I take issue with in regards to our president, because I feel as though he is being very passive and hoping to win over the approval of people that he won't get, and not protecting those of us who voted for him. To me, it's easy to slow the spread. It's easy to put an end to this, and he refuses to do it. We should have vaccine passports just like what they're implementing in France. We should have restrictions. You should not be able to go to a job, federal government or otherwise, if you're not vaccinated or if you're not willing to wear a mask all day. Those are the requirements with regular testing at the workplace. You do that, you slow the spread, you protect the American people, and that's not what Joe Biden has done.
So do you feel like what they're saying now, where they're like teachers can be either vaccinated or they have to get tested every day, or I think it's every day or everem week. Do you feel like that's an adequate solution that they could implement?
I don't believe that legally the government can make anyone get a vaccine.
Right. That's what I feel like.
Public service field, like teaching, it's fine to me. If you don't want to get it, that's your choice. You're making that choice. You have the right to get COVID-19, to infect your children and to infect your loved ones if they want to sit or be around your hot, dirty COVID-19 breath. However, you do not have the right to infringe upon my health. So when I was protected by getting the vaccine, I didn't care what you did. But now that I am once again at risk, I care a great deal, because now you don't have, your freedom has no right to infringe upon my safety.
But let me ask you this. What do you think? And this is something that I feel like a lot of people feel and have been feeling, because I spoke to someone recently who is like dealing with anxiety because of everything surrounding the pandemic and so much information that we have to ingest daily in terms of like death tolls and, you know, just it's so much. I feel like every time you turn on the news, they're interviewing someone in the ICU, and it's just a crazy time. And so my question is, what is the long-term solution? What is the long-term solution to COVID-19? Because I feel like we were just now getting over the hump of the original strand, and then now you introduce the Delta strand, and then you're talking about the Lambda strand. So it's like, when do we come out of the fog? How do we come out of the fog? At what point? Granted, a vaccination is not going, you can be vaccinated and, like you both stated, and get sick. So when does it end? When do we come out of, like, do they keep
over? The train
I know,
but
what I'm saying is that, wait. What I'm saying is that every time you turn around, there's a new strand of this disease, you know, coming about, like it's being reported. And so it's like, when can I see hope? When can I see hope?
You're not going to see hope, L'Oreal.
Listen,
this is a virus.
I understand that.
It has one. You're wanting this to be over. It's not going to be over. So let me explain how it's.
No. Wait a minute. I'm not wanting it to be over. What I'm simply saying is that it may go on and on and on and on. I'm saying, what is the guidance from the CDC of how this will lessen? How you can have some hope because
that's what I just said. It could have happened if Joe Biden would have done what needed to be done.
Right.
He didn't do it. If he would have locked down the borders and implemented very strict testing guidelines to get into this country, we would be safer. If he would have mandated vaccine passports and he would have mandated either vaccination or masking, we would be safe, and we would be where you're saying, without that level of anxiety as we were really 2 months ago. That didn't happen. Now we're facing a whole new game scientifically. COVID-19 is a virus, and a coronavirus. These viruses have existed since the beginning of time. They are the foundational point of the human existence. We sprang and developed from these organisms. A virus has one job to do every day, and that is to live, to replicate, to multiply, and to exist. And that's what this virus is doing very well. We are going to continue to have variants, and we're going to continue to have booster shots and different things. Unfortunately, we're now one step behind the virus. So it becomes Delta. So we'll get a booster shot to protect it from Delta, but then you'll have Lambda and Epsilon and Zeta, Beta. You'll have it continuing on. That's going to happen. But this is what will work in our favor, unless there's a danger too when you think about it, right? Think about this. Delta found a way to break through the vaccine. That means that when that breakthrough starts to mutate in the body of people that have the vaccine, it will now be vaccine resistant. That's really scary. But the benefit of this is that our bodies are getting more and more used to exposure to COVID-19 over time, the same way that we're used to exposure to any other virus like the flu and the common colds. And we're building up natural defenses to this. In the beginning, we had natural defenses because we had never been exposed to it. And we didn't know the full dangers of COVID-19. Like, we really still don't know the full dangers, because you don't know how bad it will be for you until you contract it. Now, the vaccine helps with that. And I think that we're going to continue to be helped more and more in time, to where COVID-19 is going to, I think, eventually be a situation that's similar to the flu, but maybe one step above it. I think it's ignorant people say it's just like the flu. We can't forget that the flu kills millions of people every year. And I believe, unfortunately, COVID-19 will kill millions of people per year as well for the rest of our lives. It's something that we're going to have to live with for the duration of our existence. And I think, our hope now is, let's hope that it doesn't become this hyper vigilant variant that destroys the vaccine protection that we have so far. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like it's like you said, we want to talk about freedom. You have the freedom to choose not to eat at my restaurant when I tell you you're not coming in here unless you have a mask on. That's how I feel. That's a portion of freedom. You have the freedom. That's, you exercise your right to not patronize my business, not come to wherever I'm at. If you don't want to wear your mask, that's fine. If you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine, but you're not going to be around me. And that's your freedom. But people take it, like you said, as the freedom to get you sick. You don't have the freedom to get me sick. And that's what's frustrating. That's how people are taking it. And I think it comes to a larger issue of America not caring. For most people don't care about other people. You're not going to be able to get people to take the vaccine by saying, well, if you get the vaccine, other people won't get sick. They don't care. People don't care about other people here. I think that's a big issue that the American people have.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I agree too. And I feel like there's so many, I don't know. There's just so many thoughts that I have because I'm a person, I don't like to live in anxiety. I don't like to live in fear. I don't like to live in a state of like, I truly believe in what the Bible says. Like God didn't give us a spirit of fear. And I feel like we are living with this like cloud of fear and anxiety over us every single day. And I can't even tell you the countless people that call me and they're like, Lo, can you pray for me? Because I'm having a panic attack. Lo, can you pray for me? And it's like, and even myself, just managing my own anxiety and my own, praying over my children, praying over my husband, praying over myself, just having to stay calm, in the midst of everything going on. So that's really what I was saying, what I was speaking to in terms of the pandemic. Just, just when you see it, feel like you're over the hump of it, it's like in walks something else, and then also as a mother, explaining to my child, that you have to wear a mask every day, and to see the kids, like there was a poll that recently came out where it was saying that kids are now, socially depressed and they don't know how to interact and they don't know how to and my husband's a teacher. And so he's seeing it even when they were having virtual school, these kids are not engaged. It's just blank. It's just, there's nothing there. And it's because of the way the world has kind of turned upside down its head. And it's really sad to see. And so I'm just the type of person where I'm like, all right, what needs to happen so that we can kind of restore faith and restore our peace of mind, essentially.
We have to accept the new. We have, this is hard to hear, but L'Oreal, you know me. You've known me for a long time from when I was your teacher. And, I tell it like it is. We, all of us have to now accept a new normal. There have been generations of people that have lived through plagues and that have lived through these types of disasters. And this is our new normal for the moment. We can hope and pray that it will turn around, but I don't know if that will be with this virus.
I'm gonna have to believe God. I'm gonna have to believe God. I'm gonna have to call on the ancestors.
I believe that God is gonna protect and keep us.
I do too. Just for all those watching, real quick, Kirk was my teacher and he used to rip my paper up in front of the class. And I'm still recovering.
Trauma is still there.
Yes, it's very traumatic, and I talk about it in therapy and everything, but it's okay.
You have bounced back, and
you made me better.
Nonetheless. And here's Deborah said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, I will heal the land.
Come on, and turn.
So,
but that verse says, humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways. And that's the problem.
They're trying to storm the Capitol.
Nobody want to turn from the wicked ways.
Wait a minute.
That's the word. That's the word.
It is almost time to transition to the IG Live. I just want to very quickly talk about the clown. This is Herschel Walker and his wife.
What's her name? Blanchard.
Yes.
Blanchard.
She looks certainly
She
bland.
looks very bland.
Very bland.
Yes, Golden Girl.
Forgive me. Let me turn from my wicked way.
Herschel Walker, you both of you ladies, because Alicia, are you a Georgia native? Actually,
I am. Mm-hmm.
So, both of you ladies are Georgia peaches to the core. Your children, L'Oreal, Herschel Walker has a long, storied, rich history right here in the state of Georgia. And this man is going to run very likely for the United States Senate against Raphael Warnock, radical liberal Raphael Warnock, as Kelly Loeffler calls him. He literally sent this tweet that says, play by the rules. The American people demand only legal ballots be counted. Anyone manipulating this election should be prosecuted. When we just found out that his beloved wife, Julia Blanchard, actually possibly voted illegally. She was living in Texas, is a Texas resident, but cast a Georgia ballot for Donald J. Trump. Do you feel as though she should be prosecuted.
Yep, lock her ass up. Oh, sorry. Lock her up. Throw it. Yes, she should be.
Well,
I think he needs to keep that same energy. I think he needs to keep that same energy. Herschel Walker is a clown. I don't care what his previous football career was. What I know him for is abuse allegations for beating up I don't know if it was his wife, his ex-wife, his baby mom at the time. That's what I know him for, and producing a child named Christian Walker, who was also a whole clown.
They were married, Alicia. They were married.
Okay. I didn't know what the relationship was.
It was giving baby mama. But
it was giving baby mama. I thought it was baby mama. So that's what I saw. So that's what I know him for these days. He is a token. He will say any and everything that he feels like Daddy Trump wants him to say. And Donald Trump has shown time and time again that he will throw you under the bus on a moment's notice.
I mean, what? Omarosa, what's the other girl's name?
Everybody.
Candace, everybody, his whole cabinet.
The whole crew. So I don't understand. And don't you think it's a little shady when everybody around him is getting indicted, getting locked up? The feds are coming. So at what point are you like, shit, maybe I should distance myself from this individual?
Correct.
Clearly something's not right. So I can't stand Herschel Walker. That's my 2 cents.
Bottom line.
Yeah, and you know, Deborah said that Black folks are not going to fall for the okie doke, and I agree. I don't think that Herschel Walker, but let me say this. You know, Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff both won close races. It doesn't take much to bring and erode and tear down. True. I think that's what they're counting on. That they don't need many. The Kanye effects can be very, very real. In Mississippi, when I went back to do some research there, you know, my home state, a lot of Black people, well, not a lot, it's not fair to say a lot, but a significant percent of Black people in that state voted for Kanye West.
That is crazy. That is madness.
And that level of ignorance truly does happen exactly with that. And with the cheating and planning, we are doing possibly, but trust me, I think that we will find a way around it. The last thing, ladies, before we log off here and head to that brief Instagram is this. We always end with the good, the up, and we always end with some good news. And here is this week's The Best of Us. What represents the best, hands down, in our world is this young lady, gold medal winner, Tamara Mensah-Stock. Now, I didn't watch the Olympics. I boycotted the Olympics. I'm so happy to say this was the lowest rated Olympics in television history, as it should have been with their attacks against, political speech like Black Lives Matter, attacking Black women hairstyles by not allowing Black swimmers to wear protective headgear, and the fact that they themselves were a super spreader event and were cheering that only 400 cases of COVID were detected during the Olympics. Like, that's something to cheer about. So, I didn't watch it, but I was able to say I'm very thankful for this young lady. This young lady is the first Black woman to win a gold medal in wrestling.
Oh, wow.
And she announced that she is going to take her winnings, and it's only $37,000, right? So, with this young lady, this is no Simone Biles with tons of deals and lots of money that we know will come after the games. Because female wrestling is not something that's very marketable. She literally, her winnings from the Olympic gold is only $37,000.
Crazy.
She is taking this money and giving it to her mother.
Oh,
buy a food truck so she can achieve her lifelong dream.
Oh, that is awesome.
I love that.
So tonight we end by celebrating and recognizing this young lady who really represents the best of us.
Yes.
So with that being said, you guys can follow L'Oreal on Instagram at
Jessica. I need to put my stuff on there.
Alicia at The Luncheon Lawyer. If you do not follow her on TikTok, you are really missing out on amazing content. I promise you, she is going to immediately be one of your favorite content creators. Join us for the after show on IG, and we'll talk to you next week.
Bye.